All right, all right, all right. Welcome, everybody. These are women with voices, and we have something to say on this Juneteenth celebration.
All
Happy
right.
Juneteenth,
Happy
everybody.
Juneteenth.
So, who would have thought when we talked about this a week or so ago, it didn't even dawn on me that I scheduled this on Juneteenth. It was really a couple of days ago where it hit me. I thought, oh,
Mm-hmm.
wait, we're having this on Juneteenth, and how fitting to have a conversation about a pandemic with racial tension on Juneteenth, the day when we realized we were truly free in this country, and we can use this time and use this platform to be free and have a free, open, honest, candid conversation about some things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, the first question that I want to talk to you ladies about is just to get your honest thoughts about all of the civil unrest that we're in. And I'll kind of start that off. For me, um, I when you think about police brutality and excessive force, I had gotten to the point where I just became numb to it because it was just so normal. I was so used to it happening, it didn't surprise me. But now, with the death of George Floyd, it's kind of like, for some reason, and I don't know if it's because we're in a pandemic and everyone's at home and they have no choice but to see it, but for whatever reason, this woke everybody up. Not Rodney King, not Emmett Till, not all of these, other people who were wrongfully killed because of the color of their skin. But it's like now people are listening and they're trying to do something about it. And some of the efforts I appreciate. Even my employer today allowed me to leave work early to celebrate Juneteenth. This, day has been here since 1865. And here we are in 2020. And now it's getting acknowledged around the world. So I'm grateful for it. It's some of it is, it's like I feel like really now you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that we don't let up, that we continue to push forward, to continue to let our voices be heard, um, and let people know that we're not going for the things that we went for before. So, Charlotte, I'm going to turn it over to you. What are your thoughts about all the civil unrest and everything that's going on?
Oh, okay. Uh, my honest thoughts about it is I'm very sad. I'm very sad. I'm very angry. I won't say confused because, well, I guess I am confused to a point. My confusion comes with, why is it still happening? Why is it still happening? I grew up, was born in Memphis, and so I was there when Martin Luther King was killed. And
Mm,
so, and actually, I was right. We lived down the street from the Moraine Hotel, so I
mm,
didn't understand what was going on, but I knew something bad was going on because at dusk we had to be in the house. Not only in the house, you had to be on the floor. That's what they told
mm,
us. Just we just was laying on the floor. So I kind of grew up with some kind of trauma, of knowing something is not right. Why are we fighting? What's the problem? But I didn't know it until I got older. And what I'm sad about is the fact that someone could actually hate you. Certain rates could actually hate you for the color of your skin of something you have no control over. I
mm,
tell this story all the time. I talk to people and they say if I could pick a color, And I say, if I could pick a color, my color, and then you got to watch, because now they waiting on what I'm going to say, and the first thing people want to think is, as soon as you don't pick black, because I know people say, like you just said, unapologetically black, and that's wonderful. The truth of the matter, if I could pick a color, I would have been rainbow. That's just me, because I like bright colors, and that's would have been, if God said, Charlotte, what color you want to be, and I would have been yellow, green, orange. Because I always wanted to be different. Then somebody would say, oh, so she didn't want to be black. You asked me if I could pick a color, so that would be my choice. And I know being rainbow, somebody would have a problem with that. So anywhere you go, no matter what color or who you are, somebody will have a problem with it. And I just don't understand how you could kill someone because of the color of their skin that they didn't choose, in the first place. So I'm just very sad right now. I am very angry. I'm angry not only with white people. I'm angry with black people, Mexican people, Asian people. I'm just angry because of the fact that I think it is all of our fault. I don't feel like it's just one race. It's always, anytime, no matter what you do, it always end up in a black and white thing. Either you, and Mexicans, okay, they Mexican, they're not black, but we got to take a side. They're on the black side, and the Asian, if Asian want to go with the way they want to, they can go on the white side. So that's why I say I'm just mad at everyone, because we all at fault. We all can do, something to change this. We don't want to change it. Some of us want things to be different. But the truth of the matter is, we all been guilty. We all, no, everybody say, I'm not racist. Well, if you're not racist, you're prejudiced. It's either one of them. And I would be lying to say that I'm not racist, because I have my thoughts and my beliefs, which, that's been instilled in me from my parents or grandparents or my friend. So we're lying until we be honest with ourselves. Things are not going to change, because I'm gonna make it sound good for me. Yes, we're racist when you say you got white friends. Because if you gotta say you got a white friend, or I got a Mexican friend or Asian friend, that says you're racist, and may not mean any harm with it, but it is, because when I describe you, Keisha, I don't say Keisha, my black friend. You Keisha, period. And that's it. So that's my thought. I just feel like, until we be honest, until everyone is honest, and really kind of think about why you feel the way you feel. If I don't like a white person because a white person harmed me, let me be real about that. I should say I don't like that particular person that harmed me, but not all white people, because all white people didn't do it. The same when they say black people, and we, as black people, we joke about it. Oh God, if he robbed the bank, or if it was a mass murder, please, Lord, don't let it be black, because we know it's going to be all black people. So that's my truth. I just feel like we all are, and until we all come together and get it together, it's going to always be civil unrest.
Thank you, Charlotte. That was good. That was deep.
Yeah, it was.
So, Candice, so what about you? What are your honest thoughts about it?
Okay, so your question was what is my thought on the civil unrest? I think, honestly, I'm shocked, honestly, that people are paying attention. I honestly, you mentioned maybe it's because we're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know what's different this time, because to me, for Blacks, this is very familiar.
Mhm.
How many times have we seen the tape, especially in recent years? But even going as far back as Rodney King, we saw the tape.
Mhm.
So I honestly am not sure why now this got the attention, because I feel like we had strong evidence in other scenarios.
Mhm.
What's sad for me, though, is all of the and I'll just be honest, all of the education that is now, or opportunities for education and the commitment to learn now, uh, or try to see a different way. And I'm just shocked that what exactly are you trying to see differently? What exactly, and that's just not for white Americans, that's for everybody.
Mhm.
I'm with you, Charlotte. Everybody plays a part. What's different this time? What are you trying to learn? Because honestly, it has been in plain sight.
Mhm.
All of this has been in plain sight for a very long time. The fact that there are still many people who don't believe that we have systematic racism, that's still disheartening, despite the constant recordings, constant scenarios that we show, that there's a disparity between treatment in certain communities.
Mhm.
There's still not a consensus that, yes, there is a problem. We admit that there is a problem and something's got to change. Everybody is not willing, and I'm not sure uh, why. The first solution is admitting that there's a problem, and
Mhm.
then you can address the problem. I don't think that until we admit that there is a problem, I don't think that we can truly see change in this country. So, and then, you know, I am not making an excuse for the looting or the unrest, but I understand it, because when you've been oppressed for so long, and if you don't know how to properly deal with those emotions, if that's your level of dealing with it, is to go and maybe destruct or whatever, I think it's just a level of being just fed up.
Mhm.
And again, not making an excuse, not saying that it's right,
Mhm.
um, but I definitely understand the frustration, because it's exhausting. And sometimes the level of exhaustion, depending on where you are in life, is different.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're able to keep swimming upstream. You
Mhm.
don't realize that you're exhausted by it all until you're in that scenario. And again, you may not face uh, the same frustration that someone else may face, but you're still exhausted. And I think, Charlotte, in speaking to you and hearing your response, I think it's just we are all just kind of just very exhausted, mentally and spiritually exhausted by all of this. It's just a bit much.
I agree.
I
That
do
was
too.
good. Thanks, Candace. So, Teresa, what are your thoughts? How are you feeling?
I am feeling a lot of things. I think that when, for some reason, like you said, when I couldn't watch the whole video. I watched the video for like, I don't know, a few minutes, and it just brought up a bunch of sadness and grief. And I started revisiting times in my life that I had dealt with racism, and it made me bawl, because that are still at this place as human, that
Mm-hmm.
we're still going this. And to hold myself responsible, it made me look at myself and say, what am I doing that's part of this problem?
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, it was, very eye-opening for me, because I am a part of the problem. I have let a lot of racist slurs go over the years. I have tried to stay in my place and be the good Black girl and not make any waves
Mhm.
over the years. And I've kept, you know, my experiences secret, like they're dark secrets, you know,
Mhm.
unless you're like my mom,
Mhm.
you're not going to know. Or my husband, actually, my husband's white, and he the other day he was reading something and he just bawled, and he said, these white people, they just don't know, like they
Mhm.
don't know what Blacks experience on a
Mhm.
daily basis. It never occurs to them. And he said, it never occurred to me until I was married to you. So it
Wow.
really changed me in a way that now I'm not allowing I will hold, in a loving, kind way, I will
Mhm.
hold people in my life responsible for the words that they use, their actions, and their treatment.
Mhm.
I won't let it slide ripples, you know, and I didn't want
Mhm.
to deal with it. And especially since I live in a place where there is not, you know, there's not much color.
Mhm.
My mission has always been like, if I'm the first Black person you'll ever meet, then I want your experience to be wonderful, you know.
Mhm.
But we need to, all of us, no matter what color we are, we have to expect respect
Yes.
throughout every part of our lives. And
Mhm.
I think when you let small disrespectful things go over time and over time and over time, I think that watching that video just made my dam break. And like
Mhm.
you guys, I was just exhausted. Like, I'm like,
Mhm.
I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to play the game. And I'm going to be a part of the change by really holding you accountable for why you think it's okay to say nigger in front of me, or
Mm.
why you
Mhm.
think, why you think it's okay to talk about Blacks in a way. You know, people have sat here and been, or not here, but have sat and talked very racist towards Blacks. And then I'm like, what are you doing? Like, at that point, I'm like, yeah, what are you doing? I am Black. No, you're not Black. I'm like, what? What am I? What the hell am I? So, it's just, I don't know. And as a mother,
Mhm.
I don't want my daughter to be 40 and sitting here dealing with this crap anymore.
Right.
It's,
Mm.
Yep.
you know, as humans, every color, it's time for us to move past the colors and really just see each other as humans. Like,
Mhm.
period. Bottom line, the unrest, I can understand it, just like you said, Candice, exactly. I can understand that if you don't have the tools to sort of just process through this deep emotion that's come up,
Mhm.
that you're gonna feel angry and you're gonna want to take it out.
Mhm.
And I'm not that person that's gonna be doing that, but
Right.
I also, like people have said, unrest and riots have created huge amounts of change in this country. So sometimes it is necessary.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I totally agree. And I'm gonna stick with you, Teresa. What do you kind of talked about it a little bit, but what do you see as the solution? Like, what can we do to start moving forward? You talked about us looking at each other as humans instead of as colors. But what does that really look like? And how do we get there? What do you think?
That is a huge question. I think it starts with ourselves,
Mhm.
and really being upfront with ourselves about how are we part of the problem.
Mhm.
You know, how are we part of the problem, and starting with small steps, because all change begins with ourselves.
Yes.
So for me, like I said, I can change a lot and to help this problem,
Mhm.
and that's all I can really control. That's all I can really control. I don't know if getting rid of all police is an answer. I just, I may be training people to look at themselves first, to love themselves, to it all starts with us, right? So if
Mhm.
when I'm in a bad mood and I'm like hating on myself, if I feel really fat and bloated, I usually am more grumpy, to the people around me. Bottom line. So it really does start with each of us. Try really deciding what can I do to create the change.
I think that's great. Candace, what are your thoughts on what's the solution? How do we get there?
So with Teresa, that's a loaded question because it's there are many layers to the solution. I think the first problem is, like I said earlier, admitting that we have a problem. America has a hate problem. It begins from the very beginning of, I don't want to say discovering America. So,
but it did.
Yeah,
but
stumbling upon
yes
inhabited land.
Yes.
I would say that's where the problem began. And so that's the biggest thing, is admitting that there is a problem. And it's not going to be solved overnight. It's not even going to be solved within a year. We are, like I said, we're just now realizing, we're at a point now where we can say, oh, we're going to celebrate our freedom from slavery. Okay, so what was that, 1865? So I hate to say it. I know, Teresa, you mentioned that you didn't want your daughter having to fight this fight. I think we are in for a lot of work. And I pray that we are able to see mass change. But the change that we want to see starts in the heart. And the heart of every man it's evil at its core. It has to be transformed. You have to admit that, hey, I've got some ugly and dark spaces in there, and I need to dig deep and find out what is it in me. And until you can really ask yourself, okay, and say, hey, I've got a problem. I need to deal with this within myself. I don't think change can truly happen. And that's something that each person has to do. All of these corporations can make changes, and that's good that they are willing to make some of the changes that they've seen. But really, you're just now realizing that Aunt Jemima was a mammy. I'm just trying to figure out.
We don't even buy that syrup no more.
I mean, who didn't realize that? I mean, that's how normalized this is in our society, so I think, and that's the thing where, and I'm not sure which, maybe Charlotte or Teresa, you said we all hold some of the responsibility, because just like, I mean, we've become numb to it, so we accepted it and we moved on, maybe because we were the underdog, the powerless. But now it's like, okay, I feel like the scales have been removed from all of our eyes. So now let's be different. Yes. Let's make a change one day at a time.
Yes. Oh, that was good. That was good, Candace. So Charlotte, you, same question. What do you think is the solution?
Okay, well, I'm just gonna sum up all of their wonderful answers. And Candace, what I was thinking when you were saying that, I really feel like especially since I'm Black, so I go with Black people, until Black people really discover their worth, realize that we are, saying Black Lives Matter, those are words. To really believe Black Lives Matter, the reason why you don't hear me saying going on that Black Lives Matter type thing is because we don't realize we matter. And until you realize that you matter, it doesn't matter about that Black Lives Matter, because I have an issue, and I'll talk more probably in one of your questions about Black on Black crime. You can't tell me that Black Lives Matter when we killing each other, you know. And so that's another soapbox I'll get on. Okay, I also want to get on. You said one of you, I think it was Teresa. You said about the hate being a hate problem, and I wrote down. You might say I'm saying the world has a hate problem, and this problem has been since Jesus. You know that they have hated, you know, the Jews and the Gentiles. So hate has been around. But Jesus came for love, and until we start following love, it don't matter what we talk about, because this is nothing new. You know, we're acting brand new, like, well, why? I don't understand why they're doing that. Hate will make you do some things. Right now, we don't get it together. Even as Christian, I've heard some people I know Christian talking about killing. I know I'm a Christian and I'm packing. And if you come, I can't tell you that what I wouldn't do. You know, and so I got to get back to the love. I got to start seeing what would Jesus do. Let's bring that back and do what would Jesus do. My last thing on that is solution is for us to treat people the way we want to be treated. If everybody did that, you know, I don't know, this lady was a lady on there, and she just happened to be white on YouTube. She came on and she was talking. She was a professor, and she was talking to her students, and she was getting them to realize what would you do if you were being treated like Black people were treated? Would you like that? And they ask and raise your hand if you okay with this here. And nobody raised their hand. She said, wait a minute, I don't understand. You know, and so she told them, so if you wouldn't raise your hand, if you wouldn't want to be treated like this, then why is it okay? You know, so that's where I'm at. You know, when I treat people the way I want to be treated, no matter, you know, what color they are, and until we get back to what thus said the Lord, it is not going. It's not going to work. We can keep talking all day, but that's the solution.
And I appreciate that, Charlotte. And I agree with all of you ladies. When I think about solution, Teresa, just like you said, and actually all of you said, it begins with me. You know, I'm the change. I have to be the light that I want to see. And that's where it begins. And then I affect my circle. And then hopefully that affects other circles, you know. But it's like you said, Candace, it is a job. It is hard. And we have to work on it because we're all still human and we have our own faults too. So we can stumble, we can fall, and we can try, and then we have to get back up again. But what I'm realizing now, especially the older that I get, people are watching and looking to you, whether you realize it or not. They are watching what you say. They are watching what you do. And whether it's in admiration or whether it's they're trying to catch you, you know, slipping, doing something to criticize you, they're watching. And so to me, I feel like the solution, it takes a while to work on that heart and get that stuff out of your heart. But I think the solution is people need to get educated about voting, getting some laws changed to protect us, because when the civil rights movement happened, you know, they didn't take down those signs of blacks only and whites only just because, you know, they had a change of heart. You know, laws starting to get passed, you know, to allow us to vote and allow us to do certain things. It wasn't because they wanted us to, you know, even with schools integrating. You know, there are movies out now with some of the first people who integrated into, you know, all white schools. they didn't want it, but they had no choice because the laws forced them to deal with it. So I feel like, especially when we're talking about police brutality and excessive force, we've got to get past this. There's a whole group of people who feel like my vote doesn't count. My voice does not matter, and it does. And we've got to get to those people, because a lot of the people that supported Trump, and it was blacks too, it wasn't just whites,
Right.
a lot of
Absolutely.
uneducated white people that voted for him. That was a huge percentage of that. So it's like, that shows you that people aren't really thinking that, so we need to get the people educated, help them know and understand. How do I even research a politician? How do I even know what you stand for? What's on your agenda? Figure out what are the things that matter to you that you want to see. And I think worldwide, excessive police force needs to be number one on everyone's agenda to get that in place, because that's what's going to protect us, because that officer might think twice about killing someone else if they know they're going to go to jail for it. But if they're just going to get paid administrative leave, it's not going to matter, because they can be recorded and still get paid time off. It's so I feel like that's part of the solution. And when we talk about the hate everyone has something in their heart that needs to be cleaned out. And when we talk about it from a world view standpoint, Charlotte, you had mentioned about being in Memphis, which I think that's kind of powerful, that you were there when Martin Luther King was shot. What personal experience that you had, and I'm sure that was one of them, but were there any other personal experiences that you had that made you realize you were different because of your race, that it wasn't just you're a human race, something was different about you than others?
Like I say, that experience, and we grew up with a friend, and she just happened to be white, but we never said, we never called her our white friend. He had a name, Lisa, and so Lisa was our friend. And I saw Lisa one day out with some more of her friends. It bothered me, and I saw him, hey, and I was so excited because I had been a minute since I saw her. And I was kind of running up to her, because when I say friends, she slept at our house, we did her hair. That's when I found out white people can't put oil in their hair. We put oil in her hair, all that. She went on trips to Mississippi with us and all that. Just family. I didn't know. So when I came up to greet her, she kind of pushed back, and she waved, put her hand to her side, and that right there, because the two friends with her, they were looking at me like, who do you know in this group or something, and so she waved at me, so say, I see you, but I can't talk to you. And I mean, I don't think I've ever felt any pain that deep related to my race, because it would be just like me running up to you in church, and you walk away. I'm older now, I probably would say something, but then I was speechless, because I just didn't know. No one could have told me she would ever do that. That would never happen to me with her, because I never saw her as a white person. She was my dear friend, like a sister. So that was the worst feeling of knowing that I was different from my friend that I had ever experienced. And I've never allowed to see, when I go back, that takes me back to saying that we all are responsible, because I have never, ever allowed myself to get that close to anyone of the race. I've had white friends, as I would say, but I've never connected. Never allowed myself to connect
Wow.
that again. And so I know it's a personal thing, all of us. If we just thought about it, even if it's just our parents, stories we heard, my grandparents sat around talking about other Black people talk about. It's something that has happened to us, makes us feel the way. And if it happened to us, why hasn't it happened to them? Their people are doing the same thing. So that's why I say it is all of us. So that's my my personal story.
Ooh, that was deep, Charlotte.
Yeah.
That was deep. So, Candace, what about you? What personal experience have you had that made you realize you were different because of your race?
Sadly, I learned that early on. Like I said, we grew up in an all-Black city. So growing up, I felt like I had, I guess you would say I had like almost two lives, because my mom enrolled me in dance class very early. So I started dancing at 4, and the dance class was in a all-white city.
Mm-hmm.
And I danced with the same girls from the time pretty much I was 4 until I believe I was 15 is when I decided to stop. So that was 3 hours per session. And sometimes it was once or twice a week, depending on what was going on. We were preparing for a recital. And I had another friend, a close friend of my mom's. We went together. So we were the only 2 Black girls in this dance company. So our class probably had a total of maybe 12 to 14 girls. All those years, I knew their names. I knew who they were. We'd have break. You'd have to go to the water fountain and get a drink and come back and change your shoes from, ballet to tap, whatever was going on. They never, ever, ever talked to us. There were times when maybe one of us couldn't come, so you'd be there that night. And sometimes the teacher would give us like a break. And so, they're sitting in their circle on the floor. We're sitting in our circle. Teacher never said, you guys, include Candace and Kisa, make sure that they're together. No, they never did. Sometimes they would, kind of acknowledge like our presence, but it was almost like they knew we were there, but you're kind of invisible. And what's sad is that we were so used to it. It didn't even bother us. I didn't know any different. I knew that I was Black and they were white, and that was it. And now the teacher included it. She obviously talked to us, and I never felt that she was not including us. She gave them correction, she gave us correction, but she also gave much encouragement. But throughout all of those years, to not have a friend in the class was just, I'm looking back now and I'm just like, I don't think I would recognize them if I saw them on the street. But I'm just like, I don't know how you can do that. How can you do that as a kid? Like, we were kids and you didn't even, and so at that point I knew, okay, it was, this is the way it is. Like I said, it was in a town that was all white. So my parents were taking a risk driving us to this town, because this was a town where we were not supposed to be in after dark. And so they were really taking a chance, but they wanted, to give me the exposure. But I look back and it's just like, that was just something. Like, how do you explain that? And so, like I said, that was my first that was my first experience that something was different, but that didn't tarnish my view of how I encountered white people later on in life. I still believe that everybody should be judged individually on how they, interact with me. But, as a kid, that could have really, really, caused damage. And who knows, maybe subconsciously it did. But, that was my experience,
Yeah. I never knew that.
Yeah.
See?
So, thought I knew a lot. I didn't know. So for me, when I knew I was different, so again, just like Candace said, growing up in East St. Louis, it's an all-Black town. So I didn't have a lot of interaction with anyone outside of my race. And then I go off to college, and my very first class at the University of Illinois, my very first class, I am the only Black. And that was a culture shock for me. And I remember sitting in the classroom, everyone else was white, and the girl that was sitting in front of me had really long blonde hair, and she kept doing the thing where, you kind of brush it from side to side, and it landed on my desk, and I was like, what is happening? Like, it was, I could not, I was speechless, and I didn't know what to say. And then some of the cultural references that the teacher was making, I had no clue. They were talking about, I think it was at that time, like Green Day was a band.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so nobody's listening to NWA? I'm like, what? Who, and I didn't get it. I felt so disconnected. And in my head, I really thought, like, am I going to make it?
Yeah.
And it really kind of stressed me out. And something they taught us in orientation, and I understood it in that moment, they said that, and this was from Black leaders, they said, if you see another Black person on the campus, always speak to them. No matter what, whether you know them or not, always say hello. And I realized why in that moment, because U of I at that time, I want to say had like 30,000 students, and only 3,000 were Black. So you look at 30,000 and only 3,000 were Black. So I got it. So whenever I would see some, it was like, hey, hi, like, oh, it was, and then, and also, if you've ever seen the movie Higher Learning, that was my experience, because whenever we had parties, they always got shut down. The police would come, would shut it down. Like when whites had parties on the campus, they had big, like, mansions for their fraternities and sorority houses on the campus. They would have big water slides, all kinds. And I was just looking at their parties like, oh my God, like it was like a big deal. We would be like in a little shack, and then it would be so small, we have to stand outside. And then we were standing outside, so the police is coming to break it up, making us show IDs, making us, prove that we actually belong to this school. So it was there on that campus for me is when I realized that I was different and I was treated differently because of my race. So T, I'm going to get to you because I know you had stepped away, and I know.
I'm sorry. I'm managing.
No, you're fine. But I know you have some experiences to share, so I didn't want to skip you.
Well, I think that it's interesting, no matter if, for that each of us are all different lives, but we've still experienced these moments in time.
Mhm.
And I think that those collection of moments and those feeling of being a little child and being ignored by your best friend, or a little child and being that, it's hard to let go of that, because you know, it's just so hard. And that brings me back to why people are so upset, you know. It brings up memories. But for me, I've had a lot of moments, because I you know, my mom's white, and we always have been in white and minority. Um, so I think the first time that was a good memory was when I was in kindergarten, and the kids were like, did you know your mom left you out in the sun too long? Because you are burnt.
Wow.
So I was like freaked out. I went home. I told my mom, I was like, you burned me? You left me out in the sun? Like, what? She's like, so that's a good memory. I think the next memory is difficult when I went, I would think I was starting first or second grade in a new school, and the whole recess, all the kids there, because I was the only Black girl. And I've shared this story before, but this was when I realized that I had some navigating to do. Was Hispanics and there was whites. And basically the whole playground started chasing me and yelling nigger and throwing stuff at me. And I just ran the whole, you know, I don't even know where the teachers were. Like, I don't know, but I ran the whole recess. I remember climbing up things and trying to get away and kicking people, and just like in complete panic. And that's when I realized, and just the way it was, how it was worked with is that, you know, Teresa, you need to not be scared and show people that you're not scared no matter what. And it's all about how you react, Teresa. And that I ended up just staying inside for the rest of the recesses because they couldn't get it under control. I know they tried to talk to the kids, but that's when I realized that I definitely was going to have to figure out how to, um, you know, fit in or whatever. I don't know. Make sure my ass doesn't get whooped.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's traumatic.
Basically.
I mean,
Yeah.
as a kid, that is trauma.
So
That
yeah,
is,
yes.
Yeah, and
oh
it
my
doesn't stop,
gosh.
you know, it doesn't stop there. Just you know, there's a lot of them. But at the same time, this is where I am in life. Like, this is where I've been blessed to be. So, for some reason, God, I needed to experience that, and I need to use my power as a woman now to help other people. So I don't feel like a victim, because hopefully I can change things for others, and that's where I stand.
And I think that's great. And that's actually the follow-up question is, how do you embrace your uniqueness now, having gone through all of that? And so it sounds like you're saying you use that to help others, with expressing your, I don't know why my phone keeps going crazy.
You're a popular girl.
Well, and then it's like the people I talk to are here. So like, why is my phone going? So how do you really embrace your uniqueness? What makes you get up each day to say, hey, I'm okay with who I am?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I think, you know, I just love I love that I'm Black. I feel lucky to be Black. There's a power that is deeply ingrained in us, is spiritual and emotional wisdom that we carry from the suffering that we've gone through, and from just our ancestors, the deep connectedness we have through generations and generations. And I adore my curly hair. I almost lost it when I was pregnant, and I almost like freaked out. And, you know, and when I was young, all I wanted to do was straighten it. Like I just could not have, I just wanted to be like blonde with straight hair, you know, because that's all the girls around me. But now I really just feel like I'm blessed to be Black. I have a mission on this planet. And that is to really join other Black women and women in general and stand up for what we know we deserve as women and as people, and what our children deserve. And I think that my voice can be better heard, and I can get attention better in an all white world with my curly hair and my Blackness. Like, you don't have to love me, but you know what? I bet you'll try to listen to me, because you know what? I look different. And now, you know, that's just how it is. I love my difference. I wouldn't change it for the world. That's the bottom line. I just love it.
Oh, thanks. And I love you too, T. Candace, how do you embrace your uniqueness?
You know, so I thought prior to all of this that I was unapologetically me. But all of this made me realize that we weren't really free to be us. And so to me, I had been giving snippets of me, but not really free to be me. So that means, let's say, I'll go as far as when we sometimes decide what we're going to name our children. I made a point, and I think I told you this, Nikisha, before, that my background is human resource. So I know that sometimes employers will look at a resume and the name and determine if they're going to call that person, you know, based on, okay, I can tell that person is of whatever descent, you know. So I was conscientious of that in selecting a name for my child. Not that I don't like her name, but those are things that where you weren't free to be. You know, you had all these, oh, I got to think about this. I got to think about the future for her. I got to think about this in this move, you know. So all of that, I think, prohibited me from being me. So it's kind of hard to, I think now, the older I get, I think age helps. But the older I get, the more it's kind of like, no, I'm just going to be me. You know what? Whether you like it or not, and it is what it is. So I wouldn't pick a different race. I really would. Like, I think, even if they said, okay, check a box, you know, here's the life you're going to have if you choose white, and here's the life you're going to have if you choose Black, I would still choose Black. It's something about it. I just feel a pride in being Black. I just feel like, oh man, this is like the best thing. It really is like the best thing on earth. You know, we've got such a story. It's so rich, and it's still evolving. It's still moving, you know. So yeah, I would be Black every day of the week. And you know, like I said, I'm just slowly learning how to be, as Charlotte's shirt says, free-ish. Because it's a journey. It really is, you know, from, like you said, navigating your hairstyles. That is, you know, the questions you get. Because I would like to usually change things up back in the day, and before the lock. And it amazed me how many questions that brought about, you know. And so you always were like cautious with doing that, like, okay, can't go in there with this because they, you know, and am I gonna, you know, you're always knowing, like you say, you're being watched. What is your image? but you have to be careful. And so I'm changing now. It's like I'm no longer having to be careful, and
Woohoo!
that feels good. Yeah.
That is good. Your hair looks good.
Thank you, girl.
I love your hair.
Thank you.
And I love your hair too, Charlotte. So, but other than your hair, how do you embrace your uniqueness?
Okay, let's stay on the hair thing because I was just thinking about that. I had a lady when I went natural, and she was in this organization. I forgot, my patch is just kicking in, so my mind going in and out. Anyway, she was really just feeling me because she had natural hair and I had natural hair. She's figured, you know, I'm with the Black Power and everything. Now I know I could have just went on with the ride, said yay, you know, but then I am who I am, and I'm real. So I had to bust her bubble, and I said, no, I'm not natural because Black Power and all that. I'm natural because I'm 58 years old. My hair done start thinning at the top of my head, so I can no longer straighten it because you'll know my hair is thinning. So that's why. But now that I've went natural, I'm okay with it, you know, and all that. So I'm fine. But I'm still, again, I go back to me. I've always wanted to be different, whatever that different meant, and that's me. And so I'm fortunate. I would say, okay, God, you didn't make a mistake. You the reason I'm Black. So I'm supposed to be Black. I'm going to embrace that and love it. And I've never once ever said I wished I wasn't Black. There's never never came out of my mouth. I've never thought it. But again, Charlotte was given a choice. I would want to be a different color that no one else was, and I know that would make me stand out, and I probably would be targeted more than I'm targeted, you know, because I'm rainbow, you know, than I am now. But I've always felt that way. I just always wanted, you know, to be different. But I'm glad I am, you know, who I am. You touched on age. I'm gonna tell you, age will make you say whatever.
Yeah.
You do not care. You know, if I could have whatever wisdom, whatever that is come with age that I had when I was a kid, when all of us had as a child, we would know we didn't have to run in a tree or hide. We would know what to do. At that time, we didn't know what to do. Now, I feel like I know what to do, and it is to just face on whatever I got to deal with. Face on. If you got a problem with me because of my skin, you're going to have to tell me, you know, and then you're going to give me a chance to explain to you, well, how can I change that? You know, I wait for people when they, you know, well, I haven't had anybody really call me a nigger in my face, but that's when they said, if you were to call me a nigger, I'd be, well, why am I a nigger? You know, you got to explain to me. And as Keisha, no, I'm one of the ones I ask questions. Well, so
Yes,
why would you say that? And when I finish with you, you're gonna be thinking about it because I'm asking you so many questions that you're gonna realize you stupid. No, that's just stupid. You know, because if you could tell me, you can give me a good reason why you say, you know, I'm a nigga. Now I use that word, and I know that as Black people, we say, hey, we don't want them to call us niggas, but we do. I know, and the thing is, not making excuses for it, I know if I call you a nigga, I know what I'm calling, what I mean when I call you one. It don't make it right, you know. So, really the word don't really bother me unless I think you trying to, you know, hurt me with it. Now I want to know what's the point. Now if I'm acting like a nigga, okay. Then I expect you to call, you know, you to call me that.
I wasn't prepared for that statement. I was not prepared for that statement.
Most people are not, you know. But if I'm acting that way, it don't bother me. If I'm not doing anything.
And
that
so, see, we have to debunk that. We have to be the change.
Yes.
Because we need to get rid of that word out of our vocabularies.
Okay.
And you know, I've often heard, I heard them say that to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just needs to be banished. It has to go away.
I agree with you. If it's okay, if it's
Because
not okay, let's not
like,
say it.
Yeah, and I follow what you're saying. It's like, but what's acting like you know what I'm saying? Who's giving the definition of what is that?
Whatever you want it to be. That's the whole thing. It's whatever you want it to be. But however you're feeling. To me, if I say, oh, you acting like a nigga, it's not. It don't have a color to it. To me, it's ignorant. You just acting a fool. You are just acting all kind of ways like you don't know no better. Unlearned.
And so you say
or
that it doesn't have a color to it.
For me, I can't
right,
speak for others, but for me,
I mean, a lot of people will make that statement, and it's like, but for other races, it does have a color to it.
See,
it's always us.
Okay, right. Because that's what they've been taught.
That's where, right. So I'm just like, what's wrong?
No, Teresa has to leave in a minute.
Okay.
We are
I know,
like
I'm
over.
sorry.
You're
I could
over.
sit here and
No,
talk
no,
to you
it's
guys all
okay.
day.
It's
But the
okay.
conversation was so good.
Myself.
I know. It's like, okay.
I have a date up in those mountains with a girlfriend, and it's the first time I've had a girlfriend date since this whole quarantine.
She's been behaving, huh?
Yeah, but I'm gonna stay 6 feet away.
Right.
I'm not gonna be getting close, but yeah, I guess I should have given us more time.
No.
I could talk to you guys all day.
I know, and it's going good. And I was looking at the time, I'm like, ooh. And
because Alicia Keys them are on.
Alicia Keys is on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got that notice. Alicia's on.
Okay,
you want to finish?
You know what this means? We're going to have to do a part 2.
Okay.
We're going to have to do a part 2 and follow up to this conversation.
Okay.
And do this again.
Yeah. This was great, ladies.
This was very good. This was very good.
This just made my week.